The Australian government has many different visas available for overseas family members of Australian citizens and permanent residents. There are specific visa types for different situations and relationships. In this video, we will be talking about the various Australian visas for spouses, relatives, and carers. Hi, I'm Buki Adelaja, and you're watching another episode on the Youenrol channel. Our mission is to make your life easier by being your go-to destination for up-to-date information about studying, living, and working in Australia without you having to pay costly consultant fees, no matter where you are in the world. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the bell icon so that you don't miss out on our new videos when they are released. The various Australian visas for spouses, relatives, and carers are: spouses and partners. Applicants can join their partners in Australia if their partners are permanent residents or citizens of Australia. Children and adoptees. This is a visa for parents to bring a child to Australia, such as bringing their child to Australia or adopting them from overseas. Parents. This is a visa for parents to join their children in Australia. Carer. This visa is for an eligible relative to come to Australia in order to care for someone with a long-term or permanent medical condition. Relatives. These are visas for relatives to join their families in Australia if they meet specific conditions. Some visa types allow for temporary visits, while others offer a pathway for permanent residency. Applying for family and partner visas can be a complicated process, requiring sponsorship by an Australian citizen or resident, signed statement by people who know you, and possibly an interview with the Department of Immigration staff. If you need a family or partner visa, you can find out more information about the process on the Department of Home Affairs website. Now let's go over the key details of the main family visa types. Partner visas. Who are eligible? Partner visas are for the following people: spouses of Australian citizens or permanent residents, de facto partners of Australian citizens or permanent residents, or fiancés of Australian citizens or permanent residents. What are the different categories of partner visas and which one fits your situation? The Australian government maintains two separate classes of partner visas depending on where you are living at the time of your application. So for each class of visa, applicants are first granted a temporary visa and then a permanent visa if their visa application is successful. A third category exists for partners living outside Australia who wish to travel to Australia and marry, but this is only a temporary visa. If you are applying outside Australia, already married or intending to marry before the visa is granted, or in a de facto relationship, you can apply for the subclass 309 provisional visa, and the relevant permanent visa is the subclass 100 partner migrant visa. If you are applying inside Australia, already married or in a de facto relationship, you can apply for the subclass 820 partner provisional visa, and the relevant permanent visa is the subclass 100 partner migrant visa. If you are applying outside Australia intending to marry, you can apply for the subclass 300 visa. Applicants must travel to Australia and then apply for a subclass 820 partner visa to begin the process of getting a permanent visa. Although a partner visa involves both a temporary and permanent visa, the entire process is considered a single application and there is only one fee. So how long do applications normally take? Every individual case is different. The average processing time for partner visas varies from between 11 and 17 months for temporary visas and a further 16 to 22 months for permanent visas. Child and adoption visas. There are multiple visas available for the biological and adopted children of Australian citizens and permanent residents. Separate visa classes exist for applications made inside and outside Australia. The child must be sponsored by an Australian citizen or permanent resident, and there must be a relationship established either biologically or through adoption. In some cases, stepchildren are also eligible for child visas. What is the Australian government's definition of a child? For the purpose of a child visa, the applicant must generally be under the age of 18. However, an applicant under the age of 25 may be eligible for certain visas if they are full-time students or financially dependent on the parent who sponsors them. Parent visas. If you have a child who is an Australian resident or citizen, you may be eligible for a parent visa. These visas can be temporary or they can be permanent. To be eligible for a parent visa, you must meet the following criteria. You must be sponsored by an Australian citizen or permanent resident. You must be the parent of a child who has been living in Australia legally for 2 years. You must satisfy the balance of family test. This test evaluates your family connections to Australia. You must satisfy health and character criteria. There are different visas for applicants living inside Australia at the time of the application and those living overseas. Parent visas can have processing times lasting many years, and the Department of Immigration may limit the number of visas granted in a given year. To help bring family members together despite these obstacles, a temporary parent visa was proposed on the 5th of May 2017. This visa will let children temporarily bring their parents into Australia for 3 or 5 year periods. Carer visas. Carer visas are for people who need to visit Australia to provide care or household support to a seriously ill relative. People applying for carer visas should consider the following. Relative in need of care. You must be caring for a close relative who is suffering from a long-term or permanent medical condition. The relative must not be able to care for themselves and must not be able to get the care they need from health services in Australia, and there must not be anyone already living in Australia who is able to care for them. Medical assessment. A specified health provider must evaluate your relative's medical condition. Sponsorship. The relative requiring care or their spouse must sponsor your visa application. Eligibility. To come to Australia or staying in Australia on a carer visa, the carer must be the partner, child, sibling, grandparent, grandchild, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, or step equivalent of the person requiring the care. The Department of Home Affairs may cap the number of carer visas that are granted in any given year. Relative visas. These are for relatives to join their family members in Australia if the overseas relatives are aged and financially dependent on the relatives living in Australia, and this is the age-dependent visa subclass 114. The Australian residents are their only remaining relatives, and this is the remaining relative visa subclass 115. The requirements are very specific and they vary depending on which reason is being used. Subclass 114 age-dependent visas. This is for age and financially dependent relatives to join their family members in Australia on a 114 visa. They must be sponsored by the relative or their partner. They must not be married or in a de facto relationship. They must meet dependency requirements in that the Australian relative must have been supporting them for at least 3 years. They must be over 65 years old and meet health, character, and values requirements. Subclass 115 remaining relative visas. These are for applicants to join their remaining relatives in Australia on a 115 visa. Only near relatives must live in Australia and must sponsor them. The near relative must be 18 or older and settle in Australia as a citizen or permanent resident. Applicants must meet health, character, and values requirements. Hope you found the information in this video useful. Do leave your comments and your questions in the comment section below this video. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, click the bell icon to find out when we release new videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.